Welcome back to the Post Show. It is not summer anymore, if you couldn't tell by the weather outside, so we are back together, the two of us.
We sure are, here to talk about Levi's sermon.
Here to talk about Levi's sermon, but first, to talk about...
Surprise?
Our current obsession. You already forgot.
I did already forget. What is your current obsession?
Well, this morning, I woke up early to an alarm so that I could buy seeds for next year. Flower seeds. He already knows this.
Like specific kind of seeds?
Yes,
like from Norway?
No, from Floret, which is like a really popular flower farm that like makes new flower breeds. It's in the Pacific Northwest.
Fancy.
And they do a lot of like floral education, like flower growing education. And their seeds are very popular, so you have to like go on right when they put them on sale if you want to get any. And they just have super cool varieties. And so I woke up for the seed sale at 8 a.m. so that I could pick out all the seeds I wanted and be ready for next year. So I would say that's my current obsession, even though it's going to be for next year because you can't plant them yet.
Planning ahead.
Yes. Planning ahead is an obsession I have.
Extra points. I can't confirm that. My current obsession, on the other hand, is more of an actual obsession because I find myself unable to resist it, to think about much else. Say it with me. Netflix's new show, Instant Dream Home. Now, I know what you're thinking. Willie, you watch TV, much less like cheesy reality TV
I don't think
shows?
they'd be surprised that you like
not
TV.
Usually, but a woodworker that I enjoy the work of is on this show where
I didn't know that.
they renovate a house top to bottom, like whole thing, in 12 hours while the family is out unsuspecting.
And just to be clear, they're not like renovating it from the studs. Like they're not.
No, oftentimes
they are?
from the studs. Like
how do they get things to
one
dry?
time they used a helicopter to bring in this massive balcony window and they ripped open half the roof, helicoptered it in, boom, 4 hours later it was installed.
How do they get the like things like drywall to dry fast?
They just use fast drying stuff. I don't know. It's crazy, but you gotta check it out.
We can talk about this for a long time. I didn't know that all of the parts of the show. He tried to get me to watch it, and I wasn't into it, but he's been watching it while he's been doing computer work, apparently. So anyways. Now on to what you're really here to hear about, which I really don't think is Levi's sermon. I actually think it's to hear these things that we say at the beginning.
Well, naturally. We're pretty great, let's be honest. But Levi does all right. This Sunday he did, I think, a pretty great sermon.
Also, just to be clear, he planned ahead for what he's going to wear next week, which I feel like tells us that Levi might like plan out his outfits day by day, which may surprise you, because he did say he was going to wear a specific shirt next week.
Well, we'll see if that holds true.
We'll see if that holds true next week.
Anybody's guess.
Anyways, what he actually talked about, the meat of the sermon,
was sharing the gospel with people who need to hear it and how oftentimes those people are closest to you. And that so much of what intimidates us is the closeness, that we fear the judgment and
the rejection.
Exactly, rejection, yeah.
And that like people will think that you're weird.
I include that in rejection, but yeah. Sure.
Yeah, but I think you can be like not rejected, but people think you're weird.
True.
Yeah.
True.
So what did you have to say? What were your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, certainly that I found it convicting, but two, that there are so many different ways to share the gospel. And that, yes, you can lay it out for people in so many ways, but as Levi really beautifully summed up at the end of his sermon, one word is really all it takes to initiate that oftentimes uncomfortable conversation.
One singular word. Did he say what that word was?
Yeah, and you've heard him talk about it before. I'm pretty sure we all have. It's, a hallmark clearly of every beautiful person in the Bible, much less Levi, and that is curiosity.
Yes, I could have guessed that one.
Easy enough, but really.
And I think maybe that some people might hear that, and maybe they do think, oh, that's easy enough, that makes sense, but maybe you don't know what that means. Like maybe you know what curiosity means, like you know the definition of the word, but maybe you don't know like how does that play out in your relationships. And so I thought maybe we could just kind of like show what that looks like.
Sure. So my example is from just yesterday. I was over at my mom's house. Neither she nor my dad have a relationship with Jesus right now. And my mom just went through a really major surgery and she's recovering from that. And it has caused her to think really differently and gain a new perspective on life. And so I was asking her how that changed her relationship with God. And she spoke a little bit on it and quickly changed the subject. I could tell that she didn't want to dig into it too much at that time. But nonetheless, that my curiosity brought me to ask the question of simply, like, what has this traumatic event in your life done to make you think about God, to change your relationship with God, our Creator, in any meaningful way? Mm-hmm. And that was good because we don't normally talk about those sorts of things, often, if ever.
Yeah, I think that's a great example and maybe something that is maybe not super, super relatable to everybody because not everybody has someone in their life that's gone through something very like a big life thing that's
sure.
like traumatic. A lot of times it's like an everyday like relationship. And I just think about it of like when someone says something to me like, yeah, like if I say like, oh yeah, when someone asks me what I do and I'm like, oh, I work for a church and I do, you know, a couple other jobs or whatever. And then they're always like, someone might be like, oh, well, you know, I grew up going to church and then like I just said I would like never go back again. And then, you know, I could respond to that in a lot of different ways. But I think one of the ways to respond to that in curiosity is, you know, to say, oh, I'm sorry, it sounds like maybe you had a bad experience. Like, do you mind me asking like what happened? You know,
yeah,
and that's all it takes,
that.
just continuing the conversation, just asking a question. That is not anything of me saying like, okay, like you need to like go back to church or, oh no, my church is different. It's different than what you experienced. It's just asking a question because I genuinely want to get to know them. And that is a part of getting to know somebody is just continuing the conversation, asking why, how, when did that happen? Like, where are you at now? Like, how did that make you feel?
Right.
Yeah.
Simple enough things, but oftentimes there's too many barriers to get us to ask those questions. So think about what are the barriers in your life that are keeping you from those specific people in your life.
And just ask one question. Challenge yourself to ask one question this week to one person in your life. And that's all we have.
That's it. We will see you next week.
Bye.